Hello, everybody, and welcome to another series of interviews with the masters in the field of mind, body, spirit, union, and connection. And if that's your first time joining me, my name is Nushin from D Language Healing Arts and Polarity Clinic. I have a passion to bring the conversation about self-mastery to our daily life. And I cannot be more delighted to introduce to you the master that I'm having the honor to talk to you today, Reverend Richard Maraj. Thank you so much for giving me your time and your wisdom. When I send you the invitation, with no hesitation, you accepted my invitation. So thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure. Happy to join you.
Thanks. And then, as I said, this is my line of work and this is my passion, to bring the conversation about the self-mastery to the daily conversation, rather than just go to a seminar or read a book and just put it on the shelf and forget about it. How we can bring it to the daily life and actually practice it. So what's the self-mastery for you?
For me, self-mastery is about the art and the practice of using our mind and all of our tools to allow the beauty and the spirit and the genius and talent that I believe is in every human being, to allow it to come forth and to be fully expressed. I think there are a lot of things in our lives that we let distract us, to make us feel disconnected from ourselves or not honor the truth of who we are, other people's opinions, all kinds of different things we allow in life to stop us from sharing the truth of who we are. And so to me, mastery is overcoming those outer distractions to really find the truth of who we are and to let it come forth easily. Because we could spend years getting distracted, years living in the past. There are all kinds of ways we can stop ourselves from just actually being ourselves and sharing the beauty that's in us. And it's, of course, based on the premise that every human being has within them an innate and unique personality and talent and beauty that we are here to share with the world. And it is to find the vehicle through which we express that. I heard somebody once say, E. Cummings, he said, it takes a lot of courage to grow up to be who you really are. And the world doesn't always support us being the uniqueness of us. And we often are trying to please and find approval. And we kind of diminish the brilliance that's in us and don't often feel worthy of expressing all of who we are. And so to me, self-mastery is finding ways to master those and get over those distractions to express the truth of who we are.
Perfect. Sounds easy, but
Right.
I'm sure it's not that easy with personal experiences. So what are some of those tools that you were talking about?
For me, the number one tool, I believe, is learning how to quiet the mind and quiet the distractions to become a clearer channel for the wisdom and insight and clarity and intuition that's already in us. And so for me, I really believe the practice of meditation in all of its forms to quiet the mind actually takes us away from the distractions of the outer world. I think it brings us a level of peace and calmness. And when the mind is quiet, it tends to be more open to ideas and creativity and wisdom. We tend to listen better to their inner voice and our guidance, and really to get more comfortable and clear about who we really are. And how to let that light shine. So I would say the number one practice above all is a consistent, regular practice of meditation, because the human mind can get distracted very easily. They call it monkey mind. I think we've all experienced meditating and we start thinking about all kinds of different things. And meditation is that practice that can help it quiet those things to really just relax and open the mind to its true nature and inspiration and ideas. And so, and it seems counterintuitive that quieting the mind actually opens the mind to greater possibilities, because we live in a culture that it's always work, 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 do, go, go, go. And we think, and plan and reason, and we're logical. But actually, it's when you pull back from all that is when the real genius and the beauty. And that's, to me, the more we meditate, the more I meditate, I find the easier my life gets. That I don't have to force things. I don't have to make things happen. That I'm actually more in alignment, and things actually tend to flow easier with less effort. But sometimes when we're busy and running around, we think stopping for meditation is unproductive and it's not going to be effective. But it is actually the most effective thing we can do.
Yes.
And so I'd say without a doubt, consistent meditation and quieting of the mind is the most important way to begin self-mastery.
I think the key word is consistent.
Right.
Yes, to just do it in daily, and even though we say, oh, I cannot do that, just 1 minute.
Right.
Do it again and again and again.
Yeah, I really believe that, all the great masters, I think many people will say they love yoga, they love meditation, and we do it. But I think the great masters do the very same thing, but the difference is the consistency. Like even in the Bible, it says Jesus meditated in the morning and meditated midday and in the afternoon and the evening. And there's a consistency. I think sometimes we turn to meditation when we're upset or frustrated or things aren't going well, and there's nothing wrong with that. But developing a consistent prayer life where you are meditating consistently, immersing your mind in the mind of the divine, of the source, the creator, whatever you want to call it, when we do it consistently, it actually deepens our own consciousness. And we become more grounded, we become more centered. And there tends to be a more consistent balance and flow of emotion and energy and clarity. So we can actually move ahead further, quicker. But if the consistency isn't there, then I think we rob ourselves of a deeper level and a more consistent level of flow of peace and guidance and information. Spotty meditation will do us some good, but not as much good as consistent meditation. I mean, it's like anything else in life. Consistent exercise will get you further and feel healthier and stronger. Consistent, appropriate diet will actually make us feel healthier and feel better. If you want to learn how to play a musical instrument, consistent practice. You want to learn any skill, the consistency of it and the repetitive nature of it actually takes you deeper. There's something called the 10,000 hour rule. Erickson came up with this theory that it takes about 10,000 hours to develop mastery in something. And what it really is sharing a principle that with effort and with intention, over time, that we will get better at anything we put our effort and our intention towards. And it also includes our spiritual practice. The deeper we are in meditation, the more mastery naturally comes. That you get deeper into understanding and becoming more of the thing that you're seeking. One of the things I found interesting was, I'm a big music fan, and the rock band, the Eagles, I saw an interview with them, and Don Henley said that they were playing their music better 30 years later than they were playing it when it was actually a hit, when they were actually, and what he's saying, in my opinion, is the more you keep playing and doing something, that there will be layers of mastery and insight where you will become the thing that you are doing. And so that meditation, like any other skill, over time and consistency, that there will be a deepening, there will be breakthroughs and insights and quantum leaps that we had never even imagined, but we have to be dedicated at that level of consistency.
That's wonderful. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Speaking of spirituality, in my line of work, talk to so many people, and with all the shift and turmoil that's going around the world, and we have it here living in US, it's I hear a lot of people say, oh, I'm spiritual, I'm not religious anymore. So what would you speak to that?
Okay. Well, I think it's a part of a yearning, in my opinion, that is born out of there's an inert awareness, in my opinion, that there is a power that is greater than ourselves. There is an intelligence and an energy that created all of this, including ourselves, that I think our souls all yearn for. And so to me, that there is a spiritual hunger in all of us for something deeper, something more. And I think there's also, at the same time, a resistance and a negativity and a dislike of institutional religion. I mean, I've heard people say they felt harmed and wounded by their church. And whether it was Catholicism or Presbyterians or was, a non-Christian, whatever it was. And so I think there's a general dislike of, the framework and institution of religion, but there's that hunger in us that's in every human being, I believe, that we believe that there is something greater than ourselves. And we may not recognize what that hunger is, but I believe our own souls yearn for it. So I think, that phrase, I'm spiritual but not religious, is a pushing away of the formal institutional framework of religions, and people feeling like they're being force-fed or forced into believing a particular way, that I have to identify myself as a Christian, or I have to identify myself as a whatever. And I think it's people's way of kind of pushing back against that, as well as honoring, their spiritual pull. To say, the fact is, I've always been spiritual. It's always there. It's never not been there. It's only our own acceptance, awakening of it, and conscious use and cultivating it that's kind of new. And to do it outside the framework. And I get people's resistance to that. Of course, I'm a minister and I'm in a church every Sunday. And yet I understand how some people aren't. In fact, our church tends to attract more people of exactly what you're saying, who don't really want to be belonging to a formal religion, but want to find a safe place to explore that connection to the divine and understand it without any repercussions or pressure or guilt or being forced or being even kicked out of the church for it. So, so I have a lot of different layers of thought about it. But for me, the one I always take is that people are hungering for something deeper. And even though they may not necessarily want a quote formal religion, I think we all hunger for it. And I would say, even as a minister, I don't think we really need churches per se. I don't think we need religions. If somebody were put on a desert island, and there was no churches, no anything, would they be any less connected to God than anyone else? And the answer would be no. And so that connection really exists within us. And there's nothing wrong with churches. I think they're good reminders, and community can help us, support us and encourage us. And I think that's great. But I don't think they're the be all and end all, or the only vehicle through which we experience. I mean, the vehicle we experience is through ourselves and our own willingness to open our heart and quiet ourselves and be still and listen and to connect with that power. I don't know if that answered your question, but.
No, actually you did. And Reverend Richard, what you said, with my own personal life experience, it's great what you are creating, either we call it church or spiritual center. When I was 10, 15 years ago, when I was in really dark places that, life was happening and I had no idea where to go, what to do. And even though I was born in a Muslim family, but it wasn't never the practice to go to. And then because my own belief system. And when I was introduced to Unity, and I was coming almost every Sunday, as speaking of the community, your words, community, the music, the books that, you were talking about, everything was just supporting me, that has nothing to do with religion. It's just something bigger than me. It's there, that I'm being taken care of. And that trust allowed me to one day after another, just, put my feet in front of the another and just keep going. And I personally have a heart connection to, your church or your spiritual center. So thank you for that and what you do, as you said, every Sunday. So
Right.
God bless your heart.
Right.
So in that regard, and I spoke to from my own life experience, what are the daily practices? I know we talked about the meditation,
Right.
but what are the daily practices that we can bring it to our daily habit to be mindful, to be aware, to just be conscious about it?
Right. Well, I would say, of course, meditation is the foundation and should be there daily. I think another important thing, I'm a huge believer in the power of intention. And so that I think, when there's an intention to be more awake, to be more conscious, to be a channel of light or joy or beauty, I think that intention really begins to bring things together. I think the meditation grounds us and opens us, and the intention begins to move things forward to greater possibilities. It makes us more available to it, but I think it opens us for it to come to us as we go to it. And so I'm a huge believer in the power of intention. It's really, when you talk about the law of cause and effect, that intention's the cause. It's the thing that once you feel that spiritual connection, I don't think you can help but become more awake and become more clear about what it is you are meant to share. And you begin to become more conscious on a daily basis of what it is you're here to create and the difference that you are here to make. And the interesting is, sometimes it doesn't come easy or it doesn't come clear. Like I could tell you at this stage of my life, after 21 years of ministry, that I know I'm meant to do this. I know I'm born. It is my greatest joy and passion in the world. However, 20 years ago and 30 years ago, this was the last thing I wanted to do. This was, so sometimes, we come to the realization of these things, not always as quick. And sometimes the path to it leads us to something different. And then that doesn't work out. And then it moves you into a new direction. So I always think that it's a journey, that even when you come to this awakened place and set your intention, you have to keep your mind open and pay attention to the signals. Because sometimes with intention, we could start wanting to force our will in our way. But I think it's important to have intention, but be willing to be detached from it. A wonderful Buddhist practice of just letting go and trusting, and then paying attention to the signs. Because you can't just keep ramming it in one area. And if it's not there, you just need to be receptive enough to pay attention. Oh, this is where the universe is leading me. Because I've had times where I wanted to go this way, but Spirit said that way. And I bumped my head 3-4 times in the other direction. But when I actually listened, it's like, hey, your life seems to be just naturally flowing this way, and it's bumping up your problems that way. So maybe you should listen. And as I followed the ease and the direction, things actually began to fall into place greatly. So I would say daily intention, but also daily attention, because then when you pay attention, that the universe will show you. I mean, we live in a universe that created us, brought us here for a purpose. So we just need to pay attention to what the universe is showing us, And I think we know the balance between when it's time to keep going and pressing on and keep, that it takes time and process. We know the difference between that and when it's really not ours and it's time to move in a new direction or pay attention to the direction we're being led by. I think there's a line by Joseph Campbell, and he said that sometimes we need to get to a point to let go of the life we think we should live to open ourselves to the life we're meant to live. Yes. And so I think that daily balance of intention of wanting to be the fullest and best, but also paying attention to the signs and being willing to be flexible, because we can't be rigid, and sometimes time and life and experience shifts our perspective in the way it's needed, and that might be different than where we originally started, but it was a part of the process to get us where we needed to be.
Yes, that's wonderful, and I can say for that in my 100% in my own life experience, that I thought, I'm going to do this. This is who I am. That's where I'm going. And spirit, source, universe, whatever we can call it, just brought me, no, you got to do this, you got to do this.
Right.
Okay, now what?
Right.
That's wonderful. Yes, attention and attention. That
Right.
where are we going?
Yeah.
And with respect to your time, anything else you would like to add to this conversation?
You know, I'm a huge believer in two important practices as daily practices, and I believe that that learning how to let go and how to forgive and how to release the past and release mistakes, because those things can accumulate very quickly. They can accumulate daily, and sometimes we stuff our pain. Sometimes, we hold on to resentment or regret. So I think a daily practice of forgiveness, a daily practice of letting go of the day, letting go of all the things that have happened, is, to me, it's a constant cleansing and releasing. Like in the same way we shower every day, because to get rid of our daily dirt, there's an emotional level of stuff that we pick up that I just think it's important. Somebody once said 100% of spiritual growth is about learning how to let go. And so that letting go, whether it's surrendering and not being attached, or forgiving, or releasing the past, to me, all those aspects of letting go I think it keeps our channel more open so we could be a greater instrument of light. And so to me, that's an important daily practice of releasing, of letting go, of forgiving. It's important to not keep dwelling on the past and wishing it was different than it was or is. And so to me, that's a huge thing. And then the other one that's important too is gratitude. To me, the acknowledgement of how good my life is now and how many things I have to be grateful for, to appreciate and enjoy, is tremendous, because we live in a culture that, it's like, I'm going to go after that goal. I'm going to have that one day. As soon as I get that, I'm going to be happy, or as soon as I get that, I'll be successful. As soon as I meet that person and fall in love, my life will get better. And sometimes we're constantly chasing this thing. And there's nothing wrong with having goals. But when we get in a continual pattern of putting happiness out there, and I'll wait when it happens, and I hope that happens, or this has to happen for me to be happy, we kind of miss now. And to me, life is great now.
Only.
And if we can't be happy with now, we're not going to be happy with then, when we get these things that we think are going to make us happy. So to me, gratitude brings us to the moment of how good our lives are in the present. And the more we're appreciative of it, we can attract more good. But it also helps you just get into the practice of being joyful and acknowledging the goodness in our lives. Because often we look and can see all the things we don't have, all the things that aren't working, all the things we dislike. And yet there's a lot of good stuff. I mean, I've known people who have said stuff, I have no love in my life. Well, they have parents who love them, siblings who love them, friends who love them, work people who love them. And all they're thinking, because they're not in a dating relationship or marriage, therefore there's no love. And that's not true. So we tell ourselves stories. And so gratitude can bring us back to how abundant, how loved, how prosperous, how good, how positive our lives are. And so to me, those two are also key practices, because it releases any stuff from blocking us, and it acknowledges the good. And even, I think gratitude is like a magnet. It attracts even more good stuff to us. So I think those two are definitely ones that have made a huge difference in my own life. And that's why I speak on them so much, forgiveness and gratitude, because those two things will transform our lives. It'll lift the weight of the past, the hurt, the pain off, but then it brightens and opens things up of seeing how good life is already, right here and now.
Yes. Yes. Lot of pearls of wisdom. Thank you so much. Yes.
Absolutely.
Forgiveness. I hear even sometimes we have to forgive God. It
Right.
was very profound for me that, wow, who am I to forgive God? But it made a difference for me. So
Right.
thank you so much.
Absolutely. My joy, my pleasure.
it's absolute honor to have this time with you, and I'm gonna post it on social media, and everybody gonna hear your wisdom and all these great practices. And again, I just want to really, really appreciate your time, and I'm grateful for this time.
All right. Thank you, Nushin, and continued success in the great work you're doing. You're doing great stuff, and I appreciate being a part of it.
Thank you.
Okay. Take care.
Mhm.